Hi, Ryan and Nathan. My name is Mike McVeigh. I met your dads the other day. We were in Denver, and they said sometime you might be interested in fly fishing. And I do a lot of fly fishing, and I just got into tying my own flies a couple of years ago. So I thought that you both might be interested to see what it involves in tying up a fly, which I'm going to tie is a caddis fly, and it's called the missing link caddis, which is very popular and very effective on the streams here in Colorado. So maybe later on, if you guys are interested and like to see more, we can do something and show you a few other patterns. So anyway, what I'm going to start off with is what we call a size 14 dry fly hook. And I'm going to use this olive colored thread. And I'm going to start by attaching the thread to the hook and just give it a couple of quick turns, trim off the excess. And then I'm going to tie in what is called a flashaboo. And it's a very reflective type of material that when the fish see it in the water, it attracts them to the fly. So I'm going to tie it on the side of the hook here, and I'm going to make a nice smooth body on the hook shank, and I'm going to tie it back to what we call just beyond the bend of the hook. So I'm going back a few more turns here, and we tie this in, and then I'm going to bring the thread back, making a nice smooth body so this looks like the real deal to the fish when they're in the water or when the fly is floating on the surface. So bring it back, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this flashaboo material, and it acts as a segmentation of the body of the fly, and it also helps to reflect the light in the water so the fish see it and hopefully they want to go bite it. So give a few wraps, and then I'm going to do what we call tying it off. Put a couple wraps of thread.
I'm just seeing your fingers, okay.
Of thread around the flashaboo, and then I'm going to trim it off, put that off to the side. And now I'm going to make what's called the thorax of the body. And all bugs and flies have what's called the thorax. And for that, I'm going to use what's called this peacock ice stub. And it's a shredded fine material that also reflects light. And what we're doing is we're calling dubbing. So I take a very small amount, and I'm going to twist it with my fingers onto the line or onto the thread. So in doing so, I'm going to get it on there. Then I'm going to turn it around a few times, go over it, and it creates what looks like a small body or thorax of the fly. So we do that, and then the next thing I'm going to do is tie in, and I'm going to use this material called antron, and it's a very thin yarn, and this color is tan to replicate the legs of this fly. So I've got these very fine hairs or yarn. I'm going to tie them in on the side of the hook like so. Get them in there. 3 or 4 turns to tighten it down. I'm going to trim off the excess on the front. I'm going to tie in the other one on the left side of the hook. Give that a few, 3 or 4 turns so it's nice and secure on there. And I'll trim off this excess. And just tie it off and kind of finish it up. And then tie around the front of the hook here so it starts to look like the head or the front of the fly. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add what we call bleached elk hair. And that's what it is elk hair. And it's bleached to give it that nice white color. And I've already cut it. And then what we do is we put it into what's called the hair stacker. So I'll pound it a few times so it gets the hairs all nice and even. And this will look like what we call the wing of the fly. So it's going to go on here like so. I'm going to give it 3 or 4 turns to tighten it down. And then as I pull on it, the hair is going to splay. It means it starts to expand out. So now I'm going to push up all these deer hair fibers and get them up nice and tight. And I'm going to take the thread and wrap around the base of these so that it holds them up nice and holds them up in an upward position.
Wow.
A couple times. And then I'm going to do what we call a couple of quick half hitches on here. So I take this is a whip finish tool, but I'm using the other end of it, and over the eye of the hook, I'm going to put a couple of half hitches with the thread just to secure it. Now what I'm going to use is what we call it's a small hackle feather, and they call the color a light blue dun. So I'll pinch off a little bit of the end, and I'm going to attach that to the front of the hook with a couple of turns of the thread. As you see. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all these hairs back up again. And I'm going to take this hackle and wrap it around the deer hair. And what that does is it creates another portion of the body of the fly. And as I take this feather and go 4 or 5 turns, it expands out. So finish up about there. Then I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to do what they call tying off the feather. So I'm going to go over the eye of the hook once, over the feather, and over the eye of the hook a second time. And then again, I'm going to do a couple of half hitches to tie that off. And then I'm going to trim off the feather with my scissors. Then I'm going to give it one more little half hitch in there. Yep. One more half hitch. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take these excess fibers, these deer hair fibers, I'm going to separate the butt ends from the tail ends, and I'm going to take them all and cut them off just above that hackle feather that I tied. So it gives it a small head appearance of this caddis fly. So trim it off a bit.
Something's flashing.
No, that's the recording. Now I'm going to cut the thread, and the other thing I'm going to do now is trim off the legs. So I'll pull this Antron yarn back about the length of the body, and then I'll kind of pull these forward and spread them out a bit. And there is the finished fly that resembles a caddis fly, and good little pattern. So there it is. Hopefully someday can hook up and show you some other patterns and
Should I give?
throw one of these out in the stream, maybe up off of the Blue River somewhere. Okay.
Hey, I'm Mike.
I'm Mike. Good luck.